We live in the last remaining Ellis Island ferry boat. All the rest have since gone by the wayside. She's the only one left. These boats, they tell a lot of stories. For the past 25 years, we've stayed with Yankee, and we've loved every year, never have been disappointed in it. One time I tried to get disappointed, but I just couldn't. I looked out the window and I thought, how could I not love this? To wake up to this. I mean, nobody has this life. The whole experience is just so unusual, and I love unusual experiences, and God knows that, I guess, because we go from one unusual to another unusual. It's such a joy. But the boat still has to sail or sink. My name is Victoria MacKenzie-Childs. This is my husband, Richard, and we're sitting on board on the passenger deck of Yankee Ferry in Staten Island, right out in the open, and just loving our chance to be with you this afternoon, this morning, or tonight. I came from a family of 4 children, and my mother loved to make pottery. I was around it, all the time, and started working with it. We never talked about art. We didn't label things like that. It's a torturous way to be instead of just your natural self. I went to a museum with Richard in St. Louis. It turned out it was called the City Museum, but it was the World Museum. It was the most amazing place I've ever been, because you can't describe it. You have to go. I found out in reading further about this museum that the man who started it was a sculptor. There was a really lengthy interview with him, and he said, "Don't ever call me an artist." Somewhere in the article, the word artless was mentioned, and I looked it up in the dictionary, and I thought, this is what everybody is, artless. It's the most beautiful word in the world. It talks about, I wish I had a dictionary in my hands. It means natural and unsophisticated and having a natural grace. It just freed me, because I knew there was something about being an artist that always rubbed me the wrong way. I saw too many people build up their egos and then they're just slapped down. At some point, we have to be brought down to the truth. We're living in this world it's just full of labels, and it's not liberating. It's the opposite, actually. We began MacKenzie-Childs when our daughter, Heather, wanted to study ballet. But we lived in a very rural part of New York State, and we didn't really have the money for fancy lessons. I said, let's make pottery, which is the most demeaning thing to do if you're a sculptor. But I thought, I'd rather see Heather. So I started making pottery, and Richard started making a few things. And pretty soon, the dishes were selling like hotcakes. And we didn't know what to do. I thought, why would anybody want all these? And Richard said, it's the idea. We finally became whatever we became. We had as many as 400 staff at certain points. I don't know, I can't tell you numbers at all. Millions, but no, we have no involvement with MacKenzie-Childs at all. It was stolen. It seemed like we were just shut down, shut out the door and thrown in the street. It was nothing to do with us. It wasn't like an internal thing or anything. They try to have imitations of us. There's one person that's hired to be like me, which I don't really relate to, but they're just trying as hard as they can with nothing, because they don't have the spirit that you can't really do that. It doesn't work. Can we stop here? It's so long, this part. I said, okay, it's long and I'm really weary. We lost our company to an unfair, powerful situation. There was nowhere for us to go. We lost everything. We couldn't afford to live in Manhattan, but we needed a studio space. I said to Richard, you know, we may not be able to live in Manhattan, but maybe we could live on the fringes of Manhattan. Because I'd see these kind of wrecked ships in here around. I went to every rag you could find about selling and buying pieces and parts of ships. And so I learned a lot before I started going further with it. And then I started skating around the city. I'm a skater, inline skater, and I'd stop at every pier and say, can we have a ship here? And they'd say, Slim, those gates, no legal liveaboards. Okay, so I was really discouraged. One day I saw Yankee and I skated up the gangplank, and this gnarly guy came up to me, tough guy. He said, you know, what do you want? I said, I just wanted to know if you wanted to sell this ship. Look, lady, everything's got a price. And I said, oh, of course. And then he gave me a price, like he was in a hurry to sell the ship. And it was really cheap. He actually thought I was shocked at how high it was, and I hadn't even said anything. And he knocked it down another bracket. So I said, it's a deal. We were just going to use it as a studio space because our works were large, but we were working there day and night. So you roll over on a bench or whatever and go to sleep. And then we thought, we don't need to live in a cramped little space on the Lower East Side or whatever. We can just stay here. This boat was built in 1907. In the big days of people coming, they had a lot of ferry traffic. Yankee was really great because she went from Ellis Island, not straight to Manhattan. She went to Hoboken. She was out there doing her work, and she's the only one that gave the true, accurate history of American immigration. She changed the world when you think of it. I would love to tell you the history of Yankee Ferry, but I'm the wrong one to do it. I'm not even good at telling my own. You know, I don't know. People say, well, when was your daughter born? I'd say, how would I know? I mean, I just don't keep track of anything. It's not a good quality necessarily, but it's what I am. And I'm the same way with Yankee. I can't really give you a history. Living on a boat like Yankee, I mean, she's huge. So you don't feel the storms. The most that ever happens is a gentle rocking to sleep at night. There's a lot of things that you do on a boat that you wouldn't normally think about, and I think it liberates you. It makes you work with what you have, and I don't know, you wouldn't do that in a house, you know? One of my favorite objects isn't from Yankee, but it's about us having had this experience with Yankee. One Christmas, Richard made this little box for me. So I opened it up. I realized there was something inside. This beautiful painting of a ship at sea, and he did all this work. And in here were 2 pulleys. He knew I wasn't interested in diamond rings or perfume or fancy ball gowns, but that I really loved pulleys and pulley systems. So there are pulley systems all over the ship, or there were. It was so exciting to find them. And they pack in there just perfectly. And then I was ready to give him a big hug and thank him for this beautiful gift. He said, whoa, 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 wait, there's more. I'd say, there is? He said, yes. So I fumbled around and I found out there was another layer. And here it is. A bigger cavity with a bigger, beautiful pulley. Isn't it beautiful? In perfect condition. I can tell you the story how we met. It's kind of a funny story to most people, but I got a teaching job at the night school of Massachusetts College of Art. The manager of the department, or whatever you call it now, had promised me a studio as part of my pay. But then when I got there was no studio. I was really disappointed. But Richard must have overheard our conversation. He peeked out from his studio, which was right there near where we were, and said, I have a corner studio which is bigger than everybody else's. If you like, you can take a corner of it. So I thought, here's a perfect stranger offering something very valuable. And so I was so grateful. I didn't really get to know Richard that well, just working away. But my roommate, Margaret, I thought, wow, this guy would be a great husband for Margaret. So I'd think of different things to do where they could both be involved. And then he wrote me a letter. This is before we had any other ways of getting in touch. In it, he asked me to marry him. And, well, I just thought, oh my gosh. So I told Margaret, and she said, oh, Victoria, haven't you noticed whenever we're together, he's always leaning around me to talk to you? And I said, no. And she said, yes. And I said, oh, it's gone all awry. I'm sorry. She said, well, that's okay. And so then I went to the studio to work that night. I said, Richard, I got this letter from you. I can't marry you. I'm on my way to graduate school, and I have miles to go before I could be married. And he said, oh, that's okay, I can wait. Also, I don't really want to marry anybody who drinks beer. He said, oh, I don't really like it anyway. I just kind of gave up on that conversation. I went home at my apartment in where was my apartment? In Central Square. And I opened up the door, and it was all black inside, and I heard a voice, almost like a Bible story. And it said, marry him. I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so I tried to pray about it all night, tossing and turning. And was that from God? Was that just, what was that? By morning, I just felt everything was fresh and new, and it felt like it must be a right idea. We were married within about a month. We married at a pottery, of all places. You know, people used to say, oh, you have to earn money before you can marry, and all this stuff. And we didn't go for that. Everybody brought their favorite things to cook. So it was like the best food. Oh gosh, don't ask me months and days. I'm terrible about years. I have no idea. Oh, it's in my wedding ring. 1970. I love the promise. I see he's going to come back. He's back, it's just he has to recognize it. And that's a huge thing to love, because a lot of people get discouraged if somebody goes astray in some way, you know. But Richard's growing, and he's going to have a wonderful freedom soon again. That can all come back on a higher level.
You said, come back. What happened to Richard's speech?
We don't really know, because we don't subscribe to all the theories that mortal mind puts on things. It's a little more freeing. So we don't really know. I think human will and ego is a big part of the problem. And those things have to fall away. You have to become completely humble. Give it all above, because it's too much of a burden. And if you fail, in something, you take it personally. And there's a lot of that. But I don't like to analyze anything. I think it's better just to let Richard leave all that behind and go forward, which he is. Living on Yankee has helped to awaken me to this fresh sense that we don't have to take care of this ship. It's a municipal project. We would work around the clock, and I've finally given up. I'm tired of taking care of things, so many things, and pushing Richard to help. And it's not nice, it's not good. She's worth a great deal to the world. We kind of run out of money, and it needs to have somebody who loves it and can take her to the next level. And that breaks my heart. We'll stay with her as she's continuing to find her next service. After we let go of Yankee, it's a secret to us. And I'm sure there'll be an answer, and I think it's probably going to be funny. Usually the answers are funny.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you'd like to get in touch with Victoria or Richard, their website is in the description. The best way to support me and the continued creation of these videos is to pre-order my photography book, Artist in Residence, at the link in the description. The book is my continued documentation of the last generation of artists living in these unique studios and lofts across New York City. The book features photographs of Richard and Victoria, as well as many other artists. Thank you so much for watching these videos. It really means a lot to me and to all of the artists that are featured in them.